G'day, I'm Aaron from Collins Gregory Real Estate. I wanted to provide our owners with an update on the Stage 2 rental reforms that have now passed into law in Queensland. As with the previously discussed reforms, these changes have now come into effect quickly. This set of rental reforms has been grouped into two parts. The first set of these changes has now taken effect, with the second group to take effect at a future date, yet to be announced. The amendments to the Residential Tenancy and Rooming Accommodation Act include further changes to how rent increases can be applied. The rent increase frequency limit will now attach to a specific property and no longer be tied to a tenancy. This means that rent must not be increased within 12 months after the date that the rent was last increased for the property. This requirement applies regardless of whether there has been a change of tenant or owner in the previous 12-month period. The rent increase provisions will apply retrospectively. A rent increase must now be calculated from the date of the last rent increase for the property, even if this date occurred before the laws commenced. As you will no doubt appreciate, the changes to rent increases will impact all landlords and owners at some point, as they relate to many of the common activities for an investment property. As always, we'll work on each property and the various requirements to maintain compliance with the law. In some instances, a deeper discussion at the time will also be important. In addition to changes for rent increases, some other changes are also being made to rent. Rent bidding is now being made illegal in Queensland. An owner or property manager can no longer accept an offer from a tenant to pay rent above the advertised price. Furthermore, when a property is advertised or offered for rent, an owner or property manager can no longer accept an offer from a tenant to pay rent in advance if the amount is more than 1 month's rent. While a tenancy is in place, a tenant can still pay rent in advance if they wish. Owners and property managers cannot, however, solicit this. There are some further legislative changes that will commence at a later date. This date is yet to be announced. These changes include a new prescribed form for tenancy applications, with property managers being limited in what information we can request from prospective tenants. There'll be new requirements to substantiate claims upon tenant bonds. Water use bills must now be provided to the tenant within 4 weeks of being issued by the relevant authority. Where this does not occur, a tenant will not have to pay. Changes to some entry notice provisions from 24 to 48 hours. The introduction of a new process for the attachment of fixtures and structural changes to a property. And finally, where a tenant breaks their lease, the reletting costs will need to be calculated in accordance with a statutory formula, with maximum limits created. As with all of these reforms, Anita and I will keep you updated as further information becomes available. The most important point that we want to leave you with is to not panic. We've seen many new changes flow through the industry in recent months and years. And although these reforms do add some additional complexity for the management of an investment property in Queensland, the changes are certainly manageable with good communication and good process. So, if you have any questions about how these changes may impact you or your property, please feel free to contact us. We're here to help. And thanks for watching.